Well, hello and welcome. This is Misheard with Misheard Song Lyrics Podcast. We're at Season 5, Episode 212, and we're doing our first ever Billy Ocean Misheard Song Lyric. The misheard lyric is, an old head turned 'cause she was the green. And then the correct lyrics is, and all heads turned 'cause she was the dream. All right, Caribbean Queen or Caribbean Queen? He sings it Caribbean, so let's begin. It's actually called Caribbean Queen or Caribbean Queen, whatever you want to say it. And then in parentheses, the title or subtitle is No More Love on the Run. No More Love on the Run. It's a 1984 song by Trinidad British singer Billy Ocean. It was actually co-written and produced also by Keith Diamond. No relation to Neil Diamond, just FYI. It actually hit the #1 spot on both the U.S. Billboard Hot 100 chart, I remember it back then, and the Billboard Black Singles chart, and #6 in the UK Singles chart. The song also won Ocean the 1985 Grammy Award for Best Male R&B Vocal Performance, making him the first British artist at that time to win in that category. So before we talk about Billy Ocean and the song, let's talk about Keith Diamond first. But again, the misheard song lyric is not about she was the green, it's because she was the dream. And so Keith Diamond, born Keith Vincent Constantine Alexander, I wonder if he's Greek. He was born on March 11th, 1950, and sadly died on January 18th, 1997. Put a pin on that. We'll go into that in a bit. He was an American songwriter and producer, and a very prolific one. He worked with artists at the time, Donna Summer, Michael Bolton, Sheena Easton, Mick Jagger, Natural Selection, and Don Johnson. You know Don Johnson of Crockett, Sonny Crockett and Tubbs, Miami Vice. Worked with him. Diamond also produced and co-wrote Billy Ocean's other song, Suddenly. Suddenly, life has new meaning to me. And of course, Caribbean Queen, what we're talking about today. And his version of Lover Boy. And then a song called Mystery Lady. I don't remember that. He also produced and managed groups such as Starpoint and Frederick Thomas. Keith Diamond also produced and co-wrote James Ingram's album entitled Never Felt So Good in 1986. And this was the request of Quincy Jones. So he was pretty up there. Quincy was like, hey, can you take this on? Because Quincy was scoring the film at that time, The Color Purple. So he took on James Ingram's album. Now, I said put a pin on it. Sadly, Diamond died in his Manhattan home on January 18th, 1997, just 2 months shy of his 47th birthday of a sudden heart attack. Now that I'm over the 50 mark, anyone before that just sounds so young. And so sadly, he passed on. All right, let's talk about Billy Ocean. Was he born with that name? No. He was born with the name of Leslie Sebastian Charles. He was born on January 21st, another January person. And I think both him and the co-songwriter Keith Diamond are Aquarius. And he was born on January 21st, 1950, also of the same year. Better known by his stage name Billy Ocean. We'll learn in a bit how he got that name. And I mentioned earlier, he's from Trinidad and he's also British. He also has a string of lots of rhythm and blues, R&B, international pop hits that was from the 1970s and 1980s. So let's begin. He was the most popular British R&B singer-songwriter of the early to mid-80s, I would agree. And after he had scored his first 4 UK top 20 singles, including #2 hits in 76 and 77, 7 years passed, a long drought before he accumulated all these international successes over here across the pond in the U.S., including 3 U.S. #1s. So let's talk about Ocean first. Like I said, he was born on January 21st, 1950, so he's about 73 this year. Sadly, his co-writer would have been 73 as well, Keith Diamond. And he and his family actually moved to what they call Romford, which is East London, England, when he was only 10 years old, shortly before Trinidad and Tobago became independent in 1962. He was born to a Hainsley Charles, a Grenadian musician, that's his dad, and his wife Violet. So at a young age, Mr. Billy Ocean was exposed to a lot of music and sang during his teenage years, and he regularly sang in London clubs. So that's where he got his kind of beginnings of his singing career. And he also, that makes sense because he's always dapperly dressed. He worked as a tailor in London's Savile Row. So he also probably knows how to sew and all that stuff. He was discovered by his first manager, John Morphew, who recorded a double A-side single at Pye Studios in London with a full orchestra. Now, however, at this time, this ballad sing full orchestra was starting to go out of fashion for Billy Ocean, and Morphew was unable to get any major label to release it because, the times have changed, the sounds have changed. So to this day, that what he recorded with Billy Ocean then with the full orchestra has remained unreleased. I wonder if they can release that soon. Ocean's father, who had to countersign the management contract because Ocean was underage at the time, asked Morphew to release him from the recording contract, which he did without penalty. That's good. And then Billy Ocean in 1969 joined a local band called the Shades of Midnight, playing in the Shoreditch area of London. So those listening from London know what I'm talking about. I do not. He recorded his first single called Nashville Rain, backed with Sun in the Morning. So there's a theme there, it sounds like, with rain and sun. In 1971 for Spark Records under the name of Les Charles. He wasn't Billy Ocean then. And for 2 years fronted a studio band called Scorched Earth, with whom he released On the Run, backed with Let's Put Our Emotions in Motion in 1974. How did he get his name? So apparently in an interview on the ABC Radio Melbourne show with a Miff Warhorst, I think, Billy Ocean stated that the story of him having taken his stage name from the local Ocean Estate in Stepney in London's East End, where he was living at the time, was not correct. So the true story, according to the interview, was Billy Ocean said the name was derived from a local football team that was in his hometown in Trinidad and Tobago, who called themselves Ocean 11, like the movie. In 1967, he recorded his debut album, Billy Ocean, with the first single release, Love Really Hurts Without You, charting at number 2 on the UK singles chart and number 22 on the US Billboard Hot 100. He then enjoyed club success from the songs Are You Ready and Stay the Night from his second album called City Limit, both of which were later covered by LaToya Jackson. There you go. And then more successes came with a song called LOD, Love on Delivery. He also wrote and composed songs for other artists. And in 1981, he scored the U.S. R&B chart with Nights, Feeling Like Getting Down. So then his successes started to come in. Between 1976 and 1982, Mr. Billy Ocean released 4 studio albums, one called Billy Ocean in 76, City Limit in 1980, Nights, Feel Like Getting Down in 1981, and then Inner Feelings in 1982, through his then record label GTO, none of which scored successes on any musical charts, aside from the biggest single up to that point, 1976 Love Really Hurts Without You, which was a top 40 and top 10 hit in both the UK, which hit number 2, and the US number 22. Then Sony Music acquired GTO Records in 1978. Ocean was then shifted to Jive from Epic, in which he received a second breakthrough in his career in the early 1980s. And put a pin on Jive, because I'll touch that when we hit the music video in a little bit. Late 1984, he saw the release of his 5th studio album, Suddenly. That's the album I think I had on cassette. And its main single, Caribbean Queen, No More Love on the Run, the one we're talking about today, became success right off the bat. It was his first number 1 single on both the US Billboard Hot 100 and Hot Black Singles chart in late of 84, and the album debuted in the top 10, peaking at number 9 in the Billboard 200 and the UK albums chart in the US and UK, so all at the same time. So things are starting to do well for Mr. Billy Ocean. Caribbean Queen scored Ocean 2 Grammy Award nominations, and from that he won the Grammy Award, like I mentioned earlier, for Best Male R&B Performance at the 1985 Grammy Awards. He was later presented his award by Jeffrey Daniel of vocal group Shalimar. Oh, I love Shalimar. On 620 Soul Train, a UK incarnation of the American musical variety show of Soul Train. I did not know that the British had a same version of it. The album's title track also became a success, peaking at number 4 in both the UK and the US, and the song Loverboy, while also being a number 2 US success in 85. He appeared at Live Aid in 1985, singing Caribbean Queen and Loverboy from the JFK Stadium in Philadelphia. I think I remember watching that on TV. Then his 6th studio album from 1986 called Love Zone, I can't talk tonight, Love Zone from 1986 also sold well, and it included the successful singles When the Going Gets Tough, The Tough Get Going. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. Well, I love this song because it was a theme from the film The Jewel of the Nile in 1985, which was the follow-up movie from the original Romancing the Stone. So this was number 1 success in the UK and number 2 in the United States. Did you know? So they made this cute video of When the Going Gets Tough in February 1986, but it was banned by the BBC. In the US, we were able to see it on MTV. Apparently, the BBC banned it because they said owing to such non-union members as the American actors, because in the video, the stars Michael Douglas, Kathleen Turner, and Danny DeVito were all three cast members of Romancing the Stone from '84, and of course, the second movie, The Jewel of the Nile, and they were miming the backing vocals, where I guess, apparently, according to the BBC, they were not union members in the UK, so they did not want to show the video. There you go. And then he had another song that I love. It's called There'll Be Sad Songs to Make You Cry. It was another number one in US and also major UK success. Also included were the title track, Love is Forever. Love is Forever. Oh, that's a beautiful song. I need to get his greatest hits. I forgot how wonderful Billy Ocean is, which was number 10 and number 16 US successes for Ocean. It also earned him his second nomination for Best Male R&B Performance at the 1987 Grammy Awards, so 2 years later. And that the same year at 87 Brit Awards, Ocean was nominated for the Brit Award for Best British Male. So he went out with another studio album called Tear Down These Walls in 1988, featured another number one single, Get Out of My Dreams, Get Out of My Dreams, Get Into My Car, which made the album certified platinum. I remember that song. He was also appointed to the Member of the Order of the British Empire, the MBE, in the 2020 New Year's Honors for Services to Music. So you're like, what is that? I think it's kind of like our equivalent to the Kennedy Honors. So it stands for the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire. It's a British order of chivalry, and it's usually rewarded for contributions to the arts and sciences, working with charitable and welfare organizations, and public services outside the civil service. Originally, it was established back June 4th, 1917 by King George V, and it comprised 5 classes across both civil and military divisions, the most senior two of which made the recipient either a knight if male or dame if female. There's also the related British Empire Medal, yes, whose recipients are affiliated with but not members of the order. So he is an MBE. Behind his name, you'll find that. Let's go back to the song. So it was recorded under different titles for different parts of the world, resulting in versions such as European Queen, Caribbean, and African Queen. I did not know that. In the US, the song was released under the title Caribbean Queen or Caribbean Queen, No More Love on the Run. It, of course, entered Billboard Hot 100 at number 85 on the chart dated back on August 11th, 1984, and it just kept climbing. 10 weeks later, it hit number 1 and stayed at the top of the chart for 2 consecutive weeks. And the song charted for a total of 26 weeks. That's half a year. That's amazing. So let's talk about the music video. I mentioned it about earlier. It's amazing. I looked on YouTube. It was uploaded back on August 16th, 2019. So pretty recently, just 4 years ago. Guess how many views in 4 years? 84 million views in 4 years. There's a lot of people that love Billy Ocean, and 84 million, and I'm probably part of that, has been clicking to watch this video. Have you seen the video? There's a lot going on, so let me just run down to. It's Billy Ocean backstage pining for one of his dancers. There's this amazing set. There's with a large bull behind him with lasers. Then it cuts to a scene with his saxophonist all in white, dressed in like a white leotard with no warning of strobe lights. So if you have any problems with strobe lights, too sad, too bad. You don't have a warning that's going to happen. And it lasts for quite, I think, almost a minute, while the saxophonist is writhing, playing a saxophone, and he's attached to some white ropes or ribbon to make him look like a marionette puppet. And then his love interest dances behind him while an explosion of confetti covers the stage. And that is the video. Doesn't make sense. But it's wonderful. He looks amazing, Billy Ocean, because he now we know he used to be a tailor. He's, I think, in a double-breasted suit, so he looks fine as can be. But if you haven't seen it, check it out and add to the 84 million views for just the 4 years it's been on YouTube. Learned a lot. Learned that it's not about, he didn't sing that because she was the green, she was the dream. All right. And when you look at the lyrics, it also touches on, like, sounds like he was playing around until he sees her and he realizes, I want to settle down. That's why it says no more love on the run. And so lots to say there, lots of great information that he has done quite well. He's still with us, like I said. He has a son, I believe, and he's still making music, just, not out there as much as we can see, but you never know, he might come back. And hopefully when he does, we will get to hear any new music that he's made. He is still very talented and he looks great. So if you have any great suggestions like this misheard song lyric, please send it to any of our social media sites. What's this? Twitter, now it's called X, weird. Facebook, Instagram. I don't have a TikTok, sorry. If you want to just send an email, I like that too. Send it to misheard, that's MISSHEARD songs @gmail.com. Till then, keep saying the songs wrong. Bye!